What's happening, people? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm in a very good mood. I don't know why I put that notepad away, because I need this, because it has my notes on it for what I'm going to talk about. Otherwise, I'll talk absolute, not going to swear. That was going to be a wee sweary word. I'm in a fantastic mood. You probably noticed the last two podcasts, I was being very erratic because I had a lot on my brain, in my brain. But now I've got it out of my brain. I've journaled quite a lot. I think I finally know what I'm at. But do you know what? As we know, that could change because my brain can be a bit of a roller coaster. But I think right now the roller coaster is going straight. You know, like 2 weeks ago, I felt like I was on the road to nowhere. Now it feels like I'm on the road to somewhere. Piss joke. Let's move on. This podcast, before we get into it, I have a wee announcement to make, and this is part of all of my plan to stay in this country. So I've been working hard in the background. I don't know how I've managed to keep up this podcast. I'm actually getting better at these solo podcasts. This is the last two podcasts I've now had 2 attempts at. I done a Zoom podcast with Michael. My audio was fucked on it. Thank God, because Zoom podcasts actually give me the ick. They're horrendous. I'm never doing one again. Michael tried to convince me that it would be good for me. I done it. I fucking hated it. And I would rather talk to myself in a garage where it's fucking roasting, because it's better than looking at someone on a screen. I think all interactions should be in person if they can be. And once I can get a studio and stuff, I'll be back to Zoom podcasts. Anyway, let me stop going off on tangents, please. Let me get straight back to the point. I've changed my online coaching, and I'm going to be launching a brand new version of it on... Be good if you remembered the date, Gavin. Whatever the first Thursday in February is, I'm just going to write it. I'll just write it somewhere. It's either the 2nd or the 3rd of February. Let's just get that date, Gavin, because that would be helpful, wouldn't it? Instead of you just guessing. It is the 2nd of February. I shall be launching Learn to Lift. So my online coaching, because of the experience I have with coaching for the last 3 years, I've always worked with beginners, teaching them how to learn from scratch. So I pretty much know exactly where you're going to have issues lifting, what you need to know, what kind of mobility stuff you need to do. I pretty much know every single cue that you're going to need, because I've always worked with very similar clientele. And nobody comes to me going, here, I want to get a 200 kilo deadlift. That never happens. So I've always worked with the same clientele. So I decided, no matter what content I put up, I usually get people who are beginners. I usually get mostly women. No matter what I say, I reckon I could talk about, I don't know, what's something really manly. I don't know. I reckon I could make a podcast about how to shag as many women as possible, and my audience would still be all women. Probably call me a misogynist, but for some reason, whatever I post, I always have women following me, no matter what it is. So it's going to be it's not going to be women only, definitely not, but it's going to be catered towards what my audience are, which is mostly people between the ages of 20 and 50. That are looking to lose a little bit of fat and learn how to lift. So the way that the system is going to work, I'm going to have everyone doing a similar sort of program where I can see what all of the issues are. I'm going to be doing form reviews. So the way I'm going to try to teach you how to lift exactly how I taught people when I was working in person. So the system is all geared towards giving you as much of the value that you would get from in-person coaching online. So a lot of people can't commit to in-person coaching, or they can't afford it, or they can't do 3 times a week with a personal trainer. They don't have the times that align, or they can't find a personal trainer that they like. So this is going to be completely different from anyone else's online coaching. I'm not a fat loss transformationist. Transformationist, is that a word? I have no idea. I'm not going to be doing 12-week fat loss phases. Well, they could be, but I won't be posting a transformation picture at the end. I won't be starving people so that I can post a picture so I can get more clients from the pictures. I'll probably actually be posting, this is what someone's goblet squat looked like on the first week compared to 12 weeks in. That's the way I'm going to come at it. So what was that date again? I can't remember. 2nd of February. There will be applications in the description below. I'm really excited for it. I think this is going to be the best thing that I come up with. I have been confident in myself that I can achieve what I want before, and this is probably the best feeling I've had about something since I started PTing. Probably coasted last year. I now feel like I'm excited about something again, and I think I'm going to help a lot of people with this. So application form in the description, either on Spotify, Apple or YouTube, or you can just DM me on Instagram. Just start it with saying learn to lift, and I'll send you a few voice messages of how it's going to work. It's going to have one-on-one WhatsApp communication, form reviews. You also have programs to follow, obviously, with tutorials, so they're easy to follow. And then you're also going to have a group chat with like-minded people, and then a Zoom call as well once a week. That's not going to be one-on-one, that's going to be with the community, but the idea is one-on-one service from myself, so you actually get advice from myself, and then also you have the accountability and being pushed by the group as well. Right, that's been about 6 minutes of me explaining my new business idea, my new current business that I've revamped, made 10 times better. Get involved, or fucking don't do anything about it. Right, you'll lose. You snooze, you lose. Right, don't make me say any more stuff. Just fucking apply, because you know it's going to change your life. Right, that's too far. Won't change. Well, it might change your life. Anyway, right. This is going to be called How to Lose Weight in 2023. I've done a full podcast before on pretty much everything you need to know on how to lose fat. This is going to be slightly different. If you want to know all the sort of intricate details of like what you need to do exactly, go listen to that podcast. I think it was like the 9th one I've done or something like that. Slightly less boring because slightly more boring, because I hadn't quite learned how to talk on my own yet. I'm getting a lot better at it because I've been forced to do so, because I've no other choice, because I don't know people in Melbourne yet, so I can't get guests on, so I've had to speak to a camera like a freak for a few weeks, so I'm getting better at it. Anyway, right, the way I'm going to structure this podcast, I'm going to have 5 different topics, right? We're going to go through nutrition, exercise, length of your diet, lifestyle and mindset, right? So we'll crack on with the first one, which is nutrition, which is obviously going to be the most important part of the process. But ironically, it's not what I want you to focus on most, because if you want to do this, you have to change your lifestyle, which we'll get into further down the podcast. But if you only focus on nutrition, I guarantee you will not change your lifestyle for good, which is what you're going to have to do. You'll just reduce your calories, then you'll get to a point where you hit a brick wall, and then you just start eating more. So you need to actually come at this with all 5 of these in mind. So listen to every fucking word, right? Because it's all important. So nutrition, before we get into, I hate talking about calories too much, because people simplify all of this too much as if it's literally just, oh, calorie deficit, mate, and that's you. Your life's sorted. Like, that's all you need to know. You just need to reduce your calories, and that's you. That's bollocks. And too many PTs just sit behind that term calorie deficit because they know nothing else, and that's all they feel like they're comfortable doing. And I'm telling you that because that's what I did. I grew my audience on talking about calorie deficits because I just started PTing and I didn't know what else to talk about. So you can see through that. Anyway, with calories, right? Your calorie goal doesn't matter as much as you think it does. So people over stress about calories. What I would say is, I'll give you 2 vague goals, right? If you're a woman and you're trying to lose weight, I would start anywhere between 1,700 to 2,000. The heavier you are, I would start on the higher end of that range, and the less active and maybe less heavy you are, I would start on the lower end of that range. For a guy, I would do 2,100 to 2,400. Again, the heavier you are, the higher you would start. The reason you want to go in as high calorie as you can is because you want to be able to stick to this, and you want to eat as much food as possible whilst losing weight. I'll tell you right now, women who think they're on 1,200 calories aren't. Guys who think they're on 1,800 calories aren't. Maybe they do it for a day or two, but they definitely don't sustain it for any longer than like a week at a time. I've now worked with like 300 people. I've heard that maybe like half the time that people come on, and never once, not one time has it been the case. So I've had if you look at it as like a social experiment, I've had 150 cases where I've been told that, and not one time was it true. So it simply isn't the case. You aren't on as little calories as you think you are, and even if you were, that's not exactly a good thing, because you won't be able to keep doing it, and it doesn't help you fix your lifestyle at all. I would track your calories, and when I say these calorie goals, do not just reduce your calories and not change your diet at all. You don't want, there's a happy medium of changing your food a little bit and not too much, so it's overwhelming. But if it's not about, like, I remember when I first was, this is why it's toxic talking about calorie deficits all the time, right? Because I remember loads of people would message me going, oh, you've changed my life. I've been having less calories, but I've managed to fit 3 McDonald's in this week. It's not about that, actually, if you want to do it long term. McDonald's makes you feel gash. It's shite food. We know it's shite food. It's not about, if you genuinely crave a McDonald's, part of it is being able to have one every now and then. But even like weekly, why? Like, why do you need one McDonald's a week? Let's be honest, if the older you get, the more shite McDonald's is. McDonald's is just good if you're hungover because it's salty as fuck. But if you're genuinely think that your dinner should be a McDonald's, you need to change that genuinely. So we all know what good whole food is, or we at least have a pretty good idea. More fruit and veg should be in your diet. Higher protein should be in your diet. You should be looking at your dinner as this got enough sort of like veg, meat and carbs that this is going to fill me up. You should be looking at your diet like that. You shouldn't be looking at it as like, oh, I just reduced my calories, so I was within my calories and I haven't changed my diet that was pretty bad. Do you know what I mean? So all that will happen is, if you reduce your calories without making like minor changes to your diet, you'll just get hungry straight away and you'll feel like shit. So this is about, everything I'm going to talk about is about feeling as good as you can whilst losing weight. Think of it like that. You want to feel good whilst losing weight, because when you lose weight, by nature, your body's going to start doing things to you to make you feel shit. So you don't want to play into that by giving it reasons to feel shit, like eating as many McDonald's as you can, or just having a shit lifestyle. It's all about your lifestyle. Right. Don't want to touch too much into nutrition, because that other podcast, I fucking went through absolutely everything. So bear in mind, this isn't going to go through absolutely everything. It's just going to maybe pinpoint little points that you already know, just so it's ingrained in your bloody brain, mate. Don't know what accent that was. It was either a mix between England and Aussie. Do you know what it was? It was the English people that come here and then somehow start sounding Australian. Stop doing that. I refuse to say any Aussie slang, and I'll never say any of it. And you should do that too, because what I do is what you should do. Anyway, what is going on with my brain? I'm a bit hyper. I don't know if that's a good sort of like mood to be in to be doing a podcast, but we're here now and we're 13 minutes in. Exercise, right? You all know what I'm going to say. I think you should lift weights first. Now, there's been a lot of controversy recently, because I can't remember what that doctor went on Diary of a CEO. Everyone read the thumbnail of it, which was like calories don't matter or whatever, and watched 2 clips, and now they think nobody should track food and nobody should exercise. Whereas if you listen to the podcast, someone that you would think I would disagree with, I actually agreed with about 98% of what he was talking about, because it all made sense. And he also said stuff that I say all the time. So another lesson for you: don't fucking watch a TikTok clip and think that's not, like, you need to start watching stuff and then actually watching the full thing. That guy was actually really good. I didn't agree with some of his statements about artificial sweeteners. I didn't really like how much he was banging on about how exercise doesn't help, because like he said with most things, it's multifactorial. And yes, he was right that if you exercise, your hunger will come up, but also the mood elevation you get from exercise and stuff will make you want to improve other parts of your life. So it's like a knock-on effect. Whereas he did say stuff like that, but his sentences for me just came across a wee bit scaremongery, and I don't like scaremongering. It's a good way to get views, but it's also a good way to fuck people's heads up. So when I don't really like coming at things as just purely studies. Studies are good when you want to see if something's bollocks or not, but when it comes to like an actual person sticking to whatever for weight loss, or an actual person sticking to something, studies don't always work because everyone is so different. So if you relate to a study and then it, like, do you know what, I'm trying to word that without coming across like an absolute moron, because I feel like I was, but basically there's too many factors to look at a study and go, right, that doesn't work for everyone. Do you know what I mean? And studies don't take into consideration every single factor. It's very black and white because things have to be down to a T in order for the study to be effective. So it always leaves out a lot of different other factors. So I hate when people just use studies for every single, oh, there was this study done on this. Oh yeah, but like that's just, you found that to confirm your bias doesn't actually mean that that's the only study on that. You just found it, and now you think that everything you say is right. Anyway, also agreeing with 98% of what someone says is a lot. Any fitness person, if I can agree with like half of what they say, that's pretty good. So it was a good podcast. A lot to learn, a lot you can learn from it, especially about your diet. Right, exercising. I reckon you should lift weights. The reason I think you should lift weights is because it gives you that feel good factor, and it also takes your focus off purely your food into actually exercising, and exercising in a way which is probably different to what you've done in the past. Whereas what people do is they exercise for the reason to lose weight. So that their reason for exercising is, I want to burn calories, I want to lose fat. Like we learned in that podcast, if you didn't listen to it, basically this is what he says. He says exercising is pointless for weight loss scaremongering, but it has many other benefits like elevating your mood, making your health better, doing something for yourself, etc. So that's the reason you do it, because this is part of your lifestyle and it's about making yourself feel good. So lifting is what I think you should do. You can apply for my Learn to Lift service, or you can download one of the free programs I have, or find a program, but get lifting and get focused on bringing your lifts up, because it will take your focus off what you weigh, or like fully focused on fat loss, and it'll put your focus on something a bit healthier, so that you do something for yourself that's a healthy habit, like trying to get stronger in the gym. As well as that, if you can just slightly up your steps, this will help you a little bit. It's not going to be life-changing. Most of the weight loss and fat loss is going to come from your diet, but it will help just that little bit. As well as that, a big emphasis on not looking at exercise to lose weight, looking at exercise as part of your lifestyle that you're going to keep up, and not looking at it like, oh, if I exercise for the next 12 weeks, I'll be in this position. That, one, not true. Two, it's a sure way to fucking hate exercising. So get lifting weights, get focused on the numbers going up, get focused on your form getting better. I do like 1 million tutorials on Instagram of how to lift. So just get learning how to lift, and I promise it'll change things. If I get a client on and they don't miss a session for 6 weeks, and they come to me like, oh, I'm getting stronger at this and this, instead of, oh, I lost weight. When a client comes to me and they're like, oh, I'm so buzzing, I lost 3 pounds this week, I literally tell them straight away, I don't want you to be buzzing about that, because as soon as the scale weight starts like slowing down, you'll lose your head, because you're too far the other way as well. You're too focused on like your happiness coming through that number on the scale, and that's not a good thing. So I'm very quick to make sure I'm catching people on and being like, we want to be focused on healthy things that is for your lifestyle, not emotionally attached to numbers that don't necessarily mean anything. Next topic, length of diet, very, 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 very important, because a lot of people get stuck in these never-ending diets. I've been there myself. We all know my story. Fat bastard all through high school. Fat little prick. Cheeky prick as well, probably because I was fat. It's probably why I take the piss all the time. It was like a defence mechanism for being a wee fat prick. Anyway, I was on a never-ending diet. Always trying stuff that was too hard. Bit of desperation in there, so I would always self-destruct, because it was my happiness I was putting on losing weight. Whereas what you want to do is come at it, make it a priority, take it seriously, do something you can actually stick to, do a calorie goal you can actually stick to, and then focus on that for a certain length of time, and then if you need to do more than one phase, take a break. So I wouldn't let anyone on with me diet for longer than 12 to 14 weeks at a time. A lot of people get mistaken when they've lost weight, they're running out of willpower. Your hormones are getting depleted. The longer you diet, the more your hormones are going to work against you. You've got your hunger hormone ghrelin, which is going to be elevating the longer you diet. So basically, it's going to be sending you more signals that you're hungry the longer you're dieting. So that's not your willpower, that's your hormones, and you can't really do much to. You can stop that happening as sharply by not going too low in calories, sleeping better, living a better lifestyle. But if you are losing weight for like a decent amount of time, you can't stop that from happening. That's your body's natural inclination is to try preserve energy. So that's what it's going to start doing to you. It's also going to increase your leptin levels. I always get mixed up if it's increase or decrease, because leptin is basically your satiety hormone, and that signals when you're full up. That's going to work against you as well. He's going to become a little cunt, just like ghrelin. Ghrelin and leptin go, let's start shagging so that we can fuck this guy up. Someone's just put stuff in my bins, if you can hear the noise. I'm also sitting next to a refrigerator. Anyway, leptin and ghrelin, they start fingering each other, right? And then I don't know why they're also lesbians, but they start getting with each other. They go, let's fuck this guy up, and they work against you. So you'll be hungrier, and food will start filling you up less. So this is why it's so important that you diet for a phase and then you stop dieting, because if you don't, these two will get you. They will get you. They know what they're doing. They'll fuck your body up. You won't be able to sleep as much. Your body will literally do things to reserve energy. Like one time I dieted for about 16 weeks, and Michael looked at me. Michael, my best mate, most people know who he is, I don't need to say much. But Michael looked at me and was like, I've never seen someone sit stiller in a car, and it's because my body would literally try to reserve energy. The longer you diet, the more your body is going to work against you. So like you start fidgeting less, you'll naturally just like start doing less steps and stuff like that. So that's why you need to be smart. So 12 to 14 weeks before doing a diet break. If you feel like you need to do another phase, I would, at least for like 4 to 6 weeks, start bringing your calories back up. And I would start by adding on 500, and then you can even go above that 500, like add on 100 after maybe like 2 weeks, and then add another 100 on after like 2 or 3 weeks. You can eat way more calories than you've been made to believe, and stay the same weight. Just because you need to chop off 500 doesn't mean that if you start eating 500 more, you'll start gaining weight. You'll gain weight initially, just because you've got a bit more food inside you when you weigh, but that should level out if you stick to it. But be strict on sticking to the maintenance as well. But that's very important, otherwise you just end up on this never-ending diet, running your body into the ground. Remember, you don't break your metabolism. Like, your metabolism will adapt when you bring them back up. So all of this shit about like your body's broken stuff, it's not. You're just running it into the ground, but you can run it into the ceiling if you start eating a little bit more and your body isn't fucked. I like to be clear on these things, because there's a lot of shit out there that's like really scaremonger and stuff. You're not broken. You just need to change a few things and have more realistic expectations in most cases. Half of my job is bringing sanity to people's heads and making them stop being irrational. It's not fixing their metabolism that isn't broke in the first place. Your next consideration is lifestyle, right? So unless you look at this as a lifestyle change, you're constantly going to be dieting and gaining weight back. So it's not about, in 16 weeks I've got this holiday, I want to lose weight for that, and then I'll look good on that, and then that's it, I'll maybe do it for the next holiday. You'll just constantly be dieting, gaining a fuck ton of weight back, probably more every single time. Unless you look at it as a lifestyle change, you'll be on that hamster wheel for the rest of your life. So I was very much in this until about maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. Even when I first initially lost weight, I would then yo-yo diet for ages, because I would try starve myself, get as skinny as possible, because I thought that's what I needed without, like, I wouldn't lift, and then I would just gain all the weight back. Whereas this is why it all plays in each other. We want to get focused on lifting, get focused on your numbers going up in the gym, because that's a healthy lifestyle change for you to keep up, which is going to have a snowball effect on everything else. Quite passionate about all of this, so that's why I speak about everything. There has been no study on my method, but this is what I've found works for my clients. You need to look at it as, it's not how long till I lose weight, it's my new lifestyle that I'm going to keep up. So other parts of your lifestyle, right? You need, if you want to keep this up, you need to prioritize it. You need to prioritize your own life. So that might, I don't like to be too, like, with my own clients, I would never start creeping into the life coach sort of phase, which a lot of PTs do. Like, I'll be never advising my clients to break up with someone or get divorced or change their job. But considering I'm not talking to one individual, if your circumstances aren't allowing you to live a healthy lifestyle and it's stressing you out, you might need to look at making difficult decisions so you can prioritize it. What's the point in working and making a shit ton of money if it's ruining your lifestyle? You're stressed out all the time, you're gaining weight because of it, and you're literally taking years off your life. That's probably the one sentence that's maybe a bit of a hitter homer, if that's a thing, that I would say. Don't want to go too much into like intricate details of people's lives, but a lot of times people have goals and then live lives that don't match up with those goals, and that's why they never reach them. So you have to make this lifestyle change a priority, and if there's probably going to have to be some sort of leeway and sacrifices that you're going to have to make so you can keep this up. But can safely say, since I've done it, my life has been a lot better. It borders into like that sort of self-helpy sort of shit, which I hate, which you probably already know I hate, but that's just the truth of the matter. I'm sweating my tits off in here, man, honestly. I'm actually tempted to open up the freezer next to me and put my head in it and keep talking, but I won't be able to change the camera angle, so I'll just have to keep sweating into my mouth and tasting the salt. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one, unless I have anything else. You should probably drink less alcohol. I learned that one. I was an absolute session head. I wanted to build my own business, wanted to work on my own terms, wanted to feel better, and I used to drink like an absolute fish. So I had to slowly wean that out. And when I say that, I don't want you to think, damn, this, because that sounds unrelatable, right? But that was that's been a journey of the last like 2 years, considering all my friends I think I've met everyone that I'm friends with through alcohol. So that's been a long process. Not expecting you to do that anytime soon, because I know that's difficult, and I've banged on enough about sobriety and all that recently anyway. Last but not least, I want this podcast to be short and sweet anyway. I want you to listen to this whilst you're going to the gym or something. Feel pumped like I don't mean shagged. I mean feel good about yourself. Feel like you know what you're doing. Feel like you're putting yourself first. All of that good stuff, like fucking all of that feminist and I don't know whatever chat. Like women first, I'm an independent woman coming from a 27-year-old single guy that you probably wouldn't call a feminist. But do you know what? I heard feminism is pretty much just you agree with equal women rights. So I'm a feminist, apparently. Just some are ultra feminists, and I am not one of those. Right. So if you look at your mindset, right, and you come at it from a lot more a more logical standpoint, your mindset that you currently have is dictated by the experiences you have had in the past or recently. So every time you have failed at something like this, it gets harder and harder because you have built up pathways in your brain that are used to failing at this. So the only way to create new pathways, which then in turn makes things easier to stick to, is to go against what your brain is telling you to do. So if you're the type of person that's always tried to stick to the gym, even just 3 times a week or whatever, and you only ever get to the second week, it is on you that you make it to the 3rd and 4th week and start pushing through those barriers. Those barriers might be pretty big in your head, but that's all they are, in your head. You can go to the gym, you can listen to your brain saying, oh, you've got gym anxiety, you can't go because you feel self-conscious, or you can just have those thoughts in your head because they'll still be there, they'll still be talking to you. You have the choice to go anyway. The only way you get over these things is by actually going. If your friend said that they're terrified of dating, say, you wouldn't say to them, oh, don't date then, like, you'll get over it if you don't date. You'd be like, you probably need to do that more so that you can get used to it. There's a technique in therapy called exposure therapy, and if someone has social anxiety, I'm not saying every therapist does this, I'm not a therapist, but I've read up quite a lot of stories about people overcoming social anxiety. I have Paul, who used to be the producer of this podcast, as a therapist, and he would get some of his clients literally to approach people in Glasgow and just start talk. You'd either give them a pre-made up sentence that they would go, that would maybe be quite weird, not like something like I'm a pervert, because that's probably what, if I was a therapist, that's what I'd get them to say, because that would make me laugh. But he would get them to go up to people and say something a bit weird, and it would just expose them to that thing they're scared of, and over time they would build up the sort of idea that nothing bad actually comes from what they're scared of. So you need to work against these pathways in your brain. Another thing I would say is try get out of this constantly reading up about how to do these sort of things. Even this podcast falls into that bracket, but you know what? I'm the man that's going to make you a wee sexy minx. So you can keep my views and my ratings and all that up by leaving me in that, out of that bracket. Stop just watching other, like, it's a form of procrastination when you're constantly reading how to get over gym anxiety, how to whatever, stick to the gym. If you're constantly reading those sort of things without actually going, what your problem is you're putting off what is actually going to get you to build up that mindset. And it's the going and showing your head that you have what it takes to do the actions to change the way you think. It's called neuroplasticity with your head. It's the same way that if you have a gymnast who's constantly doing tumbles, their brain will literally create new pathways so that they don't get dizzy. It's the exact same thing with starting like a new habit with the gym. People always say that like they give certain amount of numbers of how long it takes to form a habit, and that's literally caused by how many times you go against what your brain sort of like is saying to put you off, because that will always happen. So even like this podcast, I now haven't missed a week for about 6 or 7 months. I've travelled for the last 6 weeks. I have no idea how I've kept this up, but I've just been now doing it weekly for that long that just my brain is like, you need to fucking get this up, Gavin, get it up. I've done it a day late the last 2 weeks, but I've had one for that day, and I fucked it up both times. So over time it gets easier and easier. You just need to force through it, and don't read up on it all the time. You're just procrastinating. If you're listening to this podcast and you've been putting yourself going off the gym today, get the fuck off your arse and start walking now. Don't even put on gym clothes. Don't even, if you've got no clothes on, just go to the gym now naked and tell them you were listening to this and Gavin said fucking go, because that's the attitude you need to have. So yeah, even my like Instagram, I bet a lot of you comment on it saying stuff like, oh my god, needed this today, and still don't do fucking anything about it. A lot of you are frothing at my tweets about don't beat yourself up and etc, and then don't do fucking anything about it. Get to the gym. If you work out from home, get to your weed station next to your couch, get a workout in, start building up the resilience to the voice in your head, because that's all it is. And all of this sort of gym anxiety, all of this like fear of failure will start fading, because all it is your experiences so far. It's the same way that if you get cheated on and your last 3 relationships, you start building up that fear that it's going to happen again. And what you need to do is start exposing yourself to people that maybe won't cheat on you. Probably start going against the sort of people that you've been dating in the past. Why do I always go back to dating? I'm not a dating expert. I actually don't have much dating and relationship knowledge, but it's just relatable for people. So with that being said, I think this is a short and sweet podcast that I'm going to plaster everywhere, because I feel like I've been on good form today. You can let me know. Maybe you thought, Gavin, you actually need to calm down a bit. You're getting too excited. Maybe it's because I'm sweating. Maybe I need to sweat more every podcast. Yeah, share this everywhere. Anyone that you think will help, anyone that's procrastinating, anyone that is convinced themselves that their body's broke, or they've been reading up on some sort of like doctor saying that they've broke their metabolism, they need to cut out carbs and all of this, get them this sent. If you're an avid listener of the podcast, especially if you listen on Spotify, please go and give me 5 stars right now. One of my biggest goals this year is to get 1,000 5-star ratings on Spotify, and I've got 78, so that I'm quite a good bit away from that. But main thing is share this fucking thing everywhere. Help me out. I've got some big goals for staying in this country, and it's going to require me to build up quite a lot of my business and my back end, building up the podcast, constantly promoting my service. Stop being a stubborn prick and trying to go against the grain of what everyone else does, because everyone else copies each other, and maybe be a wee bit more intelligent with what I do and focus more on making money rather than being this ultra fucking, I don't know, forgot the word of that. I think I'm coming down from the coffees. I think this was all coffee related. Anyway, rate the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, like on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one.